As we have completed the recorded audio and slideshow-only episodes of Possibility War, keep in mind those are not the only adventures that were completed between the end of the audio-only recordings and the new OBS Studio video-captured recordings. Indeed, there were 3 adventures between the end of Day 1 Living Land and prior to Possibility Blackout, and I've invited my friends and fellow players to come out tonight to take one of our normal play weekends to recap all 3 of those adventures. The intent is to keep these recaps to about an hour each, but we'll have to feel our way through, of course. None of us, including me, are intent on getting down into the drudgery of the die rolls. We're just going to go by memory, and we're hoping to have some fun with it. So, without further ado, let's get down to the nitty-gritty and have some fun remembering things that have happened in our Possibility War. And then I have something to read. Welcome to the recap for the Day 2 Road to Philadelphia adventure we played between February 29th and March 21st of this year, though I'm pretty certain we didn't play every Saturday night during that time. So, for this first recap video, I'm going to ask each of you to reintroduce yourself, reintroduce your player character, and feel free to throw in some things you love that either your character has participated in or were important to you, the player. All right, who wants to go first?
Since I'm at top in the Discord channel, I guess I'll go first.
Bring it on.
I'm, Connor Krantz, and I play Chris Cross, who at this time is a engineer who's trying to survive in the living land. He's not having a good time.
All right, so if we're going from top to bottom, Ginger, have at it.
All right, my name is Ginger Gish, and I play Peaches, Penelope Gonzalez. She is a New York firefighter. She got caught up in all of the hoopla of the Day 1 Living Land adventure on the ferry, and has pretty much been running for her life ever since. For the first time in a long time, this adventure feels like she's not running from, but running to a location, hopefully of safety. Penny is called Peaches. That is her firefighter call sign, and she's a pretty much got a saving people thing. Next.
I am Andrew Studdard, and I play Mohisha Satatasin, the Dinos Opulent, who invaded this realm, and things didn't go as planned.
All righty. All right, let me get to the Torg recording here. Now, let's see. I think I've shifted all you guys over, but I'm not entirely certain. So let me go ahead and move the players there. Did your map change?
Yep.
Okay. And that's good for all 3 of you?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I believe so. I'm still trying to swap between some of this stuff. Jeez. Come on, machine. I was trying to open the document that you sent, and
well,
of course, in doing so, it's made everything else slow.
Sorry about that. Okay, so since I'm up to recording here on the Roll20, we began Day 3 of the invasion up here, towards the top right of your screen. At the kind of the top left or left, you've got how the travel rolls went and what we use to measure on all of these things. So all of that is to the good. Anyway, let's get started. Thank you all. With these videos, I'll start out with a mission briefing and then begin with recap points and or questions to hopefully get your brains running and remembering. We've been playing nearly a year together now. You guys realize that day after tomorrow will have been 1 year that we've been playing.
Holy smokes!
Uh-huh. Went kind of quick, didn't it? We
Wow.
started setting up characters on January 4th. That's right. So, all right, let's see. We've been playing nearly a year now, and I think we've become pretty decent friends. So let's have a fun discussion telling folks about our adventures earlier in the year. From here out, for videos we shoot, we really shouldn't have to catch up anymore. It was just the technology that was tripping me up badly enough, but now I think I have it down. There isn't really a mission briefing for the beginning of this one. The idea was simply to survive, to get out of New Jersey and down to Philadelphia, where a safe place was rumored to be. This rumor came from a few folks from the Lower Manhattan Hospital. You guys remember that?
Oh yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
That was gonna
And
be one of my questions of what I forget which day. Where were we when it did the road to Philadelphia start? Was it at the hospital or when we were at the mall?
Well, it was at the mall. Remember, you were just on the other side of the bridge. After the battle with Theklik and her minions, you guys decided to take a rest at the nearby mall so that all of the people who were convalescing could catch up, and so that everything was good to go. So that you could move on. But the idea was to get down to Philly, and you guys did a really good job at that. So after the fight against Theklik and her forces on the previous day, the actual second day of the invasion, everyone was exhausted from crossing through the Holland Tunnel and the subsequent battle, and so decided to rest in a nearby mall that had not been overrun by the Living Land quite yet. After gathering any remaining necessary sustenance necessary to feed everyone, to feed everyone for the evening and during part of the next day, a good haul indeed. You guys all rolled really well on that, if I recall.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
made sure to milk the mall.
Oh yeah, you guys stripped it. Everyone was turning in for the night. Of course, Mo decided to play some tricks on his new compatriot, Penny. Mo?
ants.
You're saying trick. I'm saying that Peaches has offended a colony of giant ants, and they are stalking her even today.
And since everything in the freaking living land is giant sized, she's developing a pretty big bug phobia at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Mo does have a sense of humor, but being in a Dinos, it's a really weird one. Yeah.
No,
Practical jokes.
Practical
weird jokes about.
However, this does put Penny on high alert, and Peaches is pretty much on guard, and it's probably why we weren't ever surprised. Some of our secrets were, but she wasn't. And she never did spot one of those giant ants.
Yeah. Yep.
They're sneaky.
Yeah, that's the truth. Okay, so
but her Snickers still stayed in the bottom of her bag.
All right, so the next morning, the beginning of the third day, came and many woke to find out the Living Land had indeed been hard at work taking over various parts of the mall last night. Difficulty presented itself to getting out, but not something our ready group of adventurers couldn't handle. Eh, Peaches?
Yeah, what's a giant ant to a group of us this large?
Well, I was actually talking about all of the really thick flora that had permeated the mall at that point.
It's true. We did have to pretty much use machetes to slice our way out.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
Just another day in the life. I didn't see what all y'all's problem was.
Yeah, well, it's swampy. It's hot. We're wondering if the mosquitoes are as big as Mo says the ants are.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller but traveling greater numbers.
Oh, the joy.
Yes, the joys of trying to get a group of convalescing hospital patients motivated enough to head to where rumors say there is a holdout from this strangeness. So
that is true. I mean, generally. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Penny.
No, I seem to recall having to make make several charisma rolls to try to motivate these poor guys, the scrap of humanity around here to mobilize. Some of which are in wheelchairs and on stretchers.
I think you're thinking about the adventure before when we had to get through that short tunnel to get to
getting
the
them through
mall.
the tunnel, true, but we still had some of them like still on crutches and in chairs at this point.
Oh yeah, the moving out was very difficult from that point forward. So that's true. Anything else to recall about that time?
Well, we got them up and on their feet, and we did our best to use a map that we found to plot a road down to Philadelphia.
Okay,
So
that's
should
true.
we now discuss what happened on the road, or?
Oh, we're going to get there in just a minute. Actually, I wanted to warn you guys. I have quite a lot to read over the next little bit to kind of recap what was going on with the adventure. But if any of you feel that you kind of need to interrupt, just kind of break in. I'm not going to consider anything rude or anything like that. If you remember anything that was fun and you had a great time with it, break in, man, break in. So let's see. Peaches and Chris were able to fire up their phones that morning prior to leaving, and they were able to read the latest news from the Near News Now Network, or Near Now News Network, one of the two, which I can recount kind of here. Yeah, whatever it was. The morning began with NATO invoking Article 5 of the Accords due to attacks in the U.S. and France and later around the world. This sent the stock exchanges around the world crashing 18% and more. By midday, the Earth round, as the world continued to rotate, most exchanges closed quickly after opening due to the massive sell-offs. CNN was able to show satellite photos of Washington, D.C., and it looked like there was still power, but everything outside the middle was dark, though a reason for this was not readily evident. Meanwhile, President Wells on Air Force One vowed to repel the new enemy as soon as the government and military could figure out how. However, with the government in shambles, unable to locate the Supreme Court or most members of Congress, depression and despair began setting in quickly. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. In the meantime, Philadelphia appeared to have more lights and seemed to be more active than D.C. Another bridge was spotted dropping in Mumbai, but activity there seemed innocuous. However, soldiers sent through the storm wall and into the city were able to return, though their vehicles seemed to be dying moments after entering. Later in the day, a bridge was spotted made of some manner of metal, crashing into Moscow. Soldiers there overrun in moments by laser-wielding demons with mechanical arms and legs. With demons, werewolves, and lizards running rampant from these bridges from the sky, how could anyone win and hope to save the Earth? Just as we thought it couldn't get any worse, earthquakes around Great Britain and the area within hundreds of miles were detected, just as another bridge, different by design but packed with invaders of different sorts, slams into England and northern Europe just before the BBC went off the air. Finally, later in the day, Egypt was suddenly surrounded and inundated by storm walls and earthquakes like the other places had been, identified on satellite imagery as large triangles intersecting and a bridge of sand full of World War II-style vehicles, as well as the undead, hit the desert and began disgorging all manner of human troops in Egyptian headdress and skirts, and non-human things with highly unusual weapons and inhuman abilities. Terror organizations the world round claimed responsibility for the attacks in half the locations across Earth's surface, though they would soon be proven wrong, especially when whole villages were found with their residents massacred by monsters. Other village survivors in India claim being attacked by some manner of zombie swarmed through with plants. These were folks who got out there when soldiers sacrificed themselves after their weapons stopped working. With communications faulty across the Earth, the bridge in Moscow retreating into the sky temporarily as invaders were defeated, but then slamming back to Earth to establish its foothold didn't help the current desperate situation. Indeed, the world desperately did not begin to describe what was taking place. However, just as the situation seemed entirely lost, news came from various parts of the world that we were fighting back. The fight was limited and still seemed futile, but the fight was on. So-called church police in France began to kill huge demons with what appeared to be laser guns, technology of which has not been seen on Earth in this time, at least not in a personal size. Then, just as the chaos taking place over the greater portion of the Earth seemed like it might level out for a few minutes at least, many folks in France and the surrounding countryside looked to their devices and saw GodNet installing everywhere. Rioting began breaking out across the planet, but was particularly noticed in the Asian zones as zombies of a different sort began appearing on screens just before they all went dark. Then came the strange creatures and mythical monsters from the sinkholes and cracks in the earth forming all over northern Europe and England, all swarming about and destroying where possible. With World War II-era fighter planes and impossibly weird tanks coming from the bridge that hit the Giza Plateau, but weapons fire looking for all the world like laser gun fire, the questions began to flow for how could we fight this invasion. Add to that the horrors from the worst nightmares coming to life in India as if they had been real throughout history. There were also those who came to fight them, emerging from the 16th century and fighting as though it were normal for them. Changes were not only happening across the planet, and it was not only lives being taken in murderous consequence, but even society itself began to break down at a speed never before witnessed, despite the seriousness of a riot or import of those involved in the call for change in earlier years. France, however, seemed to be the first pacified, the majority of their population succumbing to a fervent call for prayer and leadership by the Church of the Cyberpope. The governments of the earth, not certain what to make of the new invaders, continued to watch one another, feeling the familiar steps of national defense were best to keep an eye on, especially since no one was claiming responsibility, apart from the terrorists, for attacks around the earth, but they could be from any other nation on Earth rather than interdimensional invaders. The meltdown on Earth tended to see most running in fear of their lives, while confusion sent them nowhere they could go to be safe. Then people on Earth began to see these invaders as saviors in certain places and began succumbing to them. Alternately, within hours of a potential zombie apocalypse beginning in Asia overall, many of the towns and cities began closing down against the possibility of a pandemic affecting people so horrifically. When Pharaoh Mobius took the lead of the Egyptian government, his empire firmly established, this shocking moment began a time of deep despair that, if hardcore Islamists could give in so easily to a ray gun-wielding lunatic, perhaps the entirety of the world would fall to these invaders. Add to that, when we began killing our own. Life has never been as important to the Asian governments as it is in most of the world, but the level of extermination happening took its horrific place on a truly epic scale. Yet hope remained, as fighters from various nations around the world launched weapons of war and soldiers to come against the invaders and their horrific plans. By midnight, as we truly began to fight back in earnest on that first day, communication with Moscow was lost in its entirety, a nuclear weapon being used against the bridge. Our worst fears concerning this war ignited in moments. Morning would bring the horrific aftermath of this horrible happenstance, but the bridge would return again. Nukes didn't work everywhere, however, and we were spared our own super nightmare of burning ourselves to a crisp. Now, however, we had to face the long dark night of the invasion. What did you feel? Oh, let me kind of rebuff that. I'm done reading. What did you all feel about the horrific news coming in from around the world on that third morning?
But kind of hard to believe that, like, in some areas, it's like it's not just jungle appearing everywhere.
Yeah. Also, we had the lessons of the Ukam, Ukam.
Yep,
society
Ukan works.
Ukam, that a society that had perished before by this kind of invasion, and we have that data with us, but we haven't been able to give it over to anyone or any place that it would make a difference.
Actually, you did have one chance, and that was on the Ronald Reagan, the USS Ronald Reagan, after.
Yeah, that was a good bit later, though.
Oh yeah,
that's after the road. The was definitely
yeah. You were right.
We gave it to the guard in Philadelphia, and
that's true.
As soon as we were able to get to any semblance of a remaining authority. But looking at all this on the phone, it looks very similar to what happened to the Ukam, or what they said happened to them.
Mm-hmm. Or
And
at
I
least
have
the
to
beginning
wonder-
of it.
Yeah, and I have the horrific suspicion that we're being invaded like the Ukam were.
Yeah. And you are not wrong in that instance. Guys?
I don't see how that could be a suspicion. I told you flat out that's what was happening.
Yeah, we talked about that on the road to Philadelphia.
Mhm.
You confirmed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything about any of the others, but
Yeah,
but Mo, so-called because it's much easier to say, was one of the invaders. I mean, he got on the Maelstrom Bridge and came because it was supposed to be a glorious battle. Supposed to be like fabulous for Lenala. And he gets here and he finds out, this really sucks. This is definitely not what Lenala would be impressed by. And you know what? That girl right there was cute. So I think I'm going to swap sides. And
doesn't that just figure to impress a girl?
yeah, look, I would play the romance card every single time I got it. I am just impressed I don't get it more often.
Well, there's only one or two in the deck, so.
So, I was confirming that. I mean, personally, while I as a player really thought they did a great job with the story and delivering the news in sort of a news format. A little bit at the time as the days progressed. I really enjoyed that. Like my character had no idea what these people were talking about, and was just like, meh. Of course there's an invasion going on. It's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a result, we really didn't get a chance to talk about it until after we left New York, after the Battle of Sicily, and on the way to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that trip to Philadelphia was fun.
Yeah. If you say so. I could imagine it with all the dice rolls. Yeah, go ahead.
We had to prod a lot of tired and frightened people into a group to try to get them to some place that was much safer than this mall that was going to overrun us. And who knows if there were carnivorous plants in the mall? Probably were.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing our luck.
I mean, we don't have the best track record.
You know what? Let me tell you something. With everything that I just read about what went wrong in the world over the course of like 24 or 36 hours, you guys have a great track record.
It really wasn't, in comparison, it really wasn't as bad as all that.
It was horrific, but you guys did great.
Yeah, we all lived.
Yeah, we all lived. Well, el riesgo siempre vive. Those who risk live. So, I will have more war updates as I'm going along. I promise. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to work on them. These 3 videos tonight will actually help me to get moved along. And now that I don't necessarily have to build a character sheet of my own, since I'm using those PDF files and stuff, that stuff is all done, and we can move on with our game so that I can, kind of continue to get to other things. So more news is coming. It'll just kind of be backstated a little bit. So anything else about beginning the trip to Philly?
No. We got on the road pretty well the next morning, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took turns.
Scouting out. I was
scouting ahead.
Yeah. Yep. A couple of people scouting ahead, trying to keep from running into any big patrols. We did okay with that, I think.
Yeah.
Except I tend to blunder straight into everything.
But one of the things that we had a hard time with was hiding our tracks.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And you guys had a little bit more of a difficult time with that than I expected, but you did well anyway. Let's see. Let's see. So, okay. I'm going to kind of start up here. I got a little something to read. We're still at beginning of day 3, right after the Living Land adventure, the morning exactly after the end of that adventure, next to the Interstate 78 logo, which is right here. For all of those who can see, you were moving through Jersey toward the west and somewhat south. Actually, according to the map I've got on the screen, a lot south and somewhat west. Let's see. We all know the journey was a series of die rolls for survival and stealth, a lot, and like I said, you guys did a good job with that. And the adventure itself began at a crawl, which was really kind of my fault. I couldn't really keep the pacing really well. Each day I tried to give you a few tidbits of narrative to help develop what the Living Land was like in the heat, because the author of this, oh, and of course I didn't write it down. That would just have been too easy. David Chart, yeah, Mr. Chart, who worked on a lot of games. He's done a lot of games, but Torg is probably a favorite of his, I would think. Anyway, the way he wrote it is that you had to do survival and stealth checks every day, and as you did survival and stealth checks, you would get a little bit more information, a little tidbit about how the Living Land was coming along. Heat, humidity, bugs, and the new residents or the changed residents. The new residents, of course, being like the Adinos and their various compatriots, and then, of course, transformed people. However, each morning or half day, some of you would wander ahead to scout out the area, like Chris said a minute ago, or like Connor said a minute ago. I get those names mixed up so much.
It's fine. Honestly, I kind of roll back when I was in Texas.
Hmm.
Like there was another Connor in like all my classes, so I had to go by Connor K. And then it's like so I was like, I always respond to Connor whenever I hear it. So it's like, okay, I'll just go with Chris here.
You know,
But it's like, I now respond to Chris, Connor, whatever.
a new wonderful strong substitute for that could be CK. No?
Hey, Clark Kent went by CK. Thank you very much.
See, another name.
Okay, so the first short rest, which was on about this side of the airport. Actually, here's the short rest right here. You guys, what happened about the airport and finding food and stuff like that? You remember?
We weren't as good there. Didn't we get chased out of there?
Kind of, but not really.
We didn't. I don't think we ever directly had contact, but we spotted a huge patrol, a war party.
Yeah, me and Mo did. We were out scouting.
Yep, you guys were about right here when. Yeah. So
and I believe Connor took off in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And he got running.
What happened was that we were completely surrounded by the war party, like before we even knew it.
Mm-hmm.
We failed on our rolls.
True enough.
So
you guys did all right.
Succeeded in his persuasion role, and that convincing them I was his pet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right.
All our dead things and.
You wanted to scout the out. It wasn't a car you wanted to get working. It was a plane to see if we could all get out of there by plane.
No. Connor made the impression that he wanted to try and get to an airplane, but all there was really was a bunch of cars.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I took a car, and when we first passed it, I was looking for a plane, but then later I came back for a car. Because I needed to quickly get back to you guys, and I ended up crashing said car.
Oh yeah,
but luckily I only took one shock.
You did eventually crash,
mm-hmm.
But I couldn't go with you for whatever reason. So my character wound up going ahead
Mhm.
while your character went back to detour the main group so that they wouldn't be in the path of the war party.
If I'm not mistaken, Mo served as a. It's kind of like when you guys were at the truck in Manhattan, and
Uh-huh.
you had to distract the Gotaks that were pulling the bodies behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh huh.
Yeah, you convinced them that everything's normal.
Yeah, I convinced them that everything was normal. Told them that they were like asking me about like Chris following me, and I was like, oh, he's my pet. I've claimed I've claimed this monkey as a pet. It
Mhm.
seems docile enough, and you know,
And you were lucky at the time. I had no idea what you were saying.
no idea because you would have completely blown the entire ruse. And my
Yeah.
character's not even good at ruses, so I mean, that it was working was a miracle in itself.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because fortunately they weren't any good at ruses either.
Yeah. Luckily, none of them were any good at it either.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
Yeah. But then like once we got free of them, I think I told them that something was going on in a
Mhm.
different direction
Yep,
than
I
the one we were wanting to take. So we got them to sort of turn to go this way while Chris hops in the car after we get separated from him a little ways, and then Chris takes off in the car to go back and go, we have got to go this way.
Yeah, I think you sent them off this way towards 78.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, because that's where they would have gone. But Chris didn't know that, so everybody wound up hiding in some buildings.
Yeah, I think despite my ruse working at that point, it was still like really screwed up because
But that's okay because you got
Well,
things
there was
together. You
more than
saved the
one
group.
party.
yeah.
What's that,
Yeah,
Ginger?
there was more than one party. It was like one of their vanguards that caught us in those buildings.
Oh yeah,
It
but
wasn't the whole party.
Yeah. We got caught by either the war party scouts or between two different
mhm.
parties of scouts.
I
Because we wound up getting it. We wound up having to like dodge twice, and we really didn't do so well the second time.
but we're not there quite yet. But you're
All
right. Actually, I think it was a total of 3 groups, and you
Oh,
wound up fighting one of them, an
yeah, the
actual war
smaller
party, and
one.
not just the scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so you had, by the end of the day, after everybody was put back together, you had this camp near this place called Carteret. Okay, and that kind of brought you about the end of day 3. So let's see. Still
And we
seem
got
to.
caught in those buildings there, didn't we?
Yes, you did. But that wasn't the attack yet. That was way further down. That was like way down here, just
the forest,
before you
maybe?
got to Thomas Edison University. So
Oh.
yeah, that I can't wait to hear what you guys' recollection of Thomas Edison is going to be like. So the next morning, you were invited from beyond the trees, or I'm sorry, you invited a group of primitives from beyond the trees to kind of go with you. What do you remember
Oh,
about that?
yeah. The
Weren't
feral
they
Boy
like
Scouts.
Boy Scouts?
No,
Yeah.
not yet.
Mhm.
The Boy Scouts weren't yet. This was just a group of they were partially primitives and partially not transformed yet. It was like 3 groups of husbands and wives, and I think they had some kids among them.
Oh, I thought they avoided us.
They were trying to avoid you, but the next morning they smelled what you were cooking and
Oh
popped their heads.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They came over and joined us, and they tagged along. They were an interesting group, and they deferred to me, which was nice. So
Yeah.
mostly out of sheer fear, but which is fine. I mean, deference is deference. I'll take what I get. Uh, but yeah, but they just followed along. I mean, they didn't really do anything out of the ordinary. They just sort of followed instructions and did what we asked
Just
them to do.
just came along with you. So here
Came
you
along
are.
with us.
You've got, I think it was 27 people from the hospital and the 6, plus their kids that came with you after that. So, I mean, you've got all kinds of people that are helping one another out, and they're trying to keep you guys free so that if necessary, you can fight. But
hmm
yeah, so that was, let's see, that's beginning of day 4. So let me move the map down just a bit. I don't recall everything that Lena, Isabel, and Doc were doing, but I remember that they were there with you. I think Doc was trying to take care of wounds and injuries and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, because uh, Mo was out scouting, he wasn't healing any of the some of the people that still were wounded from the hospital.
Right.
Yeah, I tried to heal a few of the worst ones so that we weren't quite as slowed down.
hmm
But yeah, no, it was taking a long time to to for me to have gone through and done each one individually, and we didn't have the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at around noon of that day, you were approaching this place called Edison, and you decided to take a short break, just short of it, so that I think it was Detective Pepper and Chris that were out scouting. No, it was Pepper and Peaches that were out
Yeah.
scouting that morning, and you came across the town of Edison pretty much after leaving the group
Mhm.
to start your scouting. So you started scouting out the town. What do you recall about that? I wish Gavin were here, but I haven't even heard from him in the last couple of days. So
We ended up Gavin and Gavin's character and Gavin's character is
was
um,
Detective Pepper.
Detective Pepper and I ended up playing a game of very hostile hide and seek in an office complex.
Oh no way! I think
No,
I was
no, no.
actually. Yeah, the high
W-
seat gang was me and you, Ginger.
Oh,
Actually,
Yeah,
you and I.
I've got it written down that it was Peaches, Chris, and Pepper.
yeah.
Ah,
I was the only one out there in that in the.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it got violent. We fought for our lives a couple of times. I
hmm
remember you and I got separated. Chris and Peaches got separated, and Chris was
I hit
hiding
an
in
event.
in an air conditioning shed,
That's
shack,
right.
whatever. And I managed to successfully sneak up and slay the Adinos that was hunting for me in the building. And then you and I got out of there, and Pepper killed his own foe, and
Yeah, he went upstairs. Remember?
The three of us had ended up running for our lives, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Somehow that I told it back to the group saying, and that's when we started being way more careful about not only our route but also our tracks.
Wait a minute. If I recall correctly, the 3 of you actually wound up in a position where you had to hide for a while
Mhm.
Yep.
outside of the courthouse and the business offices there. Do I have that right?
I thought that
That
was
might be
pretty
right. I mean, they were hiding in some. They were hiding in some office complex for a
hmm
while. I mean, and then I mean, but yeah, Peaches had brained one, and she kind of got where she was like hiding, but not in immediate danger.
hmm
But then Chris wasn't able to get the drop on his guy, and Chris was just basically hiding in an air conditioning building or something
Oh, that's right.
while he was.
He escaped from the air conditioning vent only to have to jump over from the window to the air conditioning building and then
hmm
inside. Okay. Now I'm
Yeah,
getting it.
yeah. And meanwhile, I'm somewhere completely different, not even aware any of this is going on.
You were macking on Lena. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was macking on Lena.
Oh
I mean,
man.
You were doing your own hide and seek.
let's be realistic. I had my priorities straight. The rest of y'all needed help.
Oh man. Okay, so eventually you guys all got back to the group, and they came forward, and you spent some time either in Edison or getting through Edison, the town of Edison, real quick. This wasn't the university yet, so.
Yeah, that was getting through town, and we wound up. I mean, it took time, but essentially it was a great big game of hide and seek where they did manage to stay hid. So I mean, it wasn't excitement action adventure, but it was very tense, dramatic.
Oh yeah,
Adventure
absolutely.
where they're trying to stay hid, and then they got to find each other again because they've gotten all sorts of separated.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I messed
remember
with you
that.
guys so much.
Yeah, very frightening. But we started taking more care with our scouting groups after that incident.
That is not a bad thing.
No, that's when Peaches stopped doing any scouting and stayed pretty much to keep the party as tight a group as she could and keep them motivated and hide tracks, while Mo and Chris became our main scout ahead party.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had bonded.
Yeah, I remember that. Mo was kind of taking it on himself to keep the little pink skin safe.
A little pink skin monkey pet.
You're just trying to convert me. It's like, wait, were we with Sakal at this time or no?
Let's see. Sakal had shown up in the fourth act of. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, in the fourth act of
Sakal was around, so
of Day One Living Land. Yeah. So I wish he was going to be here tonight. I asked him last night if he was going to be available, and he decided he was not. So he already had a plan. Yeah, you get hold of folks on short notice. Not everybody can show up, so no biggie. So let's see. The end of day 4, once you got past Edison, you wound up in a place around Franklin Park. I can't remember exactly what the description was I gave to you. All I remember is that there were a lot of trees and stuff there. Let's see. What do I have written down here? By the end of day 4, you found a large warehouse. Here's the warehouse. Okay. To get everyone into for the night. What happened to May Armitage?
May Armitage.
You heard very loud roars in the area.
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah, somebody. One of our. I didn't remember her name, but one of our charges decided to go wandering off in the middle of the night
to the bathroom. Yep.
Yeah, look, not a survival instinct in the living lands, and she wound up getting eaten by something. So, and then we had our first mystery to investigate, which should have been a very big clue to exactly how good we were at mysteries from that point on.
But you seem to enjoy them so much.
Oh, I love mysteries.
If I could figure anything out.
I love mysteries. My character has absolutely none of the skills required to figure one out. I stuck my hand behind a dumpster and something started chewing on it, and I pulled out a big old dog, and I said, "This must be the culprit."
Okay, so
yeah, she got murdered. Murder. She got predated.
Yeah, predated. There you go. That's a good way to explain it. So, so about what time was it, and what did you all do?
Oh, it was the middle of the night, and I think we just held everybody up. We tried to figure it out, and just figured out it was wild animals, and then we tried to hold everybody up until morning, because it would be somewhat safer. Not because there's less dangerous animals out in the daylight, but because people tend to be, unfortunately monkeys don't see well at night, and it's better to have them out during the day.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
Yeah. So we tried to hold up, and we were safe enough all night. But yeah, during the course of the night, I think that pack, really got in there and was like, "Hey, there's easy food here."
But you did eventually find what could only really be classified as the scraps.
As her body, yeah.
Yeah.
Having been torn apart and bones stripped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
like I said, she had been predated.
But
Yeah.
that was your first clue that you were not the
Yeah.
only ones in that area.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There was a pack of some sort of predators. I don't remember if I was able to identify anything about them because, yeah, some sort of like weird wolf hybrid, I think.
Yeah, not something specifically from the living land. Most likely
Yeah.
something transformed.
Yeah, some sort of like
in the
transformed
action
dire wolf.
shift. Yeah.
It was
Direwolfish.
part tiger, part hyena,
Yeah.
part
Yeah, something that probably popped out of a zoo nearby or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an apex predator for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely an apex predator. Definitely a dangerous one, but
Yes.
and the next day we moved out and it continued to stalk us.
Yeah, they try to get out as early as possible. If
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
it
if
had
I
the
remember
taste of us.
correctly.
Yep.
It had decided we were delicious.
Yeah, I mean it was a small pack.
But a pack nonetheless.
But a pack of very singularly dangerous predators.
Mhm.
Something like a mutated lion or tiger.
Yeah.
And it was dangerous. They
Mhm.
came after us. Did we take to the water then, or did we do that?
N-
No, we didn't do that until after we got to the college.
Right, after you
Right.
got to the college, but there's one more little fight that took place. Okay, so day 5 brought harassment for your group as you found tracks for several beasts moving in an organized fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
A pack stalking us.
But that was not how the day, or not how noontime came around for y'all. Do you remember where you were when the Adinos finally caught up with you? The Adinos group?
I don't remember.
To add insult to injury,
Princeton.
specifically what sort of building we were in or anything.
Well, there wasn't really a
or
building.
neighborhood.
You
I mean,
decided that
yeah,
you were, if I'm not mistaken, you decided that you were tired of, let's see, did I put that map on here? Yes, I did. I'm going to switch maps on you. Actually, I'm going to grab your characters first, and I'm going to switch maps on you because this will help you, I think. So, Control C, and then we're going to go over to this map. And I'm going to have to move the flag over again, so hang on just a minute. Okay, so Control or paste.
There was some ruins or something.
Yep, you were.
I remember Chris was being a sniper on a roof.
No, in a building.
Yeah, he was in a building.
Remains of a building.
Okay, do you remember this map?
Yes, and I remember I was like right over here.
Yep. Now I'm going to kind of zoom out just a little bit so I can get more of the map in there for you guys. Hang on.
Did this happen here?
Yeah, at Princeton.
Oh, okay.
It was in the town of Princeton, not at the college itself or university, depending on how you want to.
Yeah, all the enemies came from around here.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to kind of really scale this map down quite a bit to see it. Okay, let's kind of get this moved into place. And I'm going to move this all... Oh, never mind. It's where it's... Okay, so yeah, all of your opponents came from down here towards the southern part of the map. Shift. That should center it for you. And who do you recall, or what kind of nasties do you recall were there?
Gosh, were they Adinos?
Yeah, it was Adinos.
They were all Adinos. I know one was a Gotak, and I actually had a name for him, though I don't remember it right now.
Is this where I ended up jumping into the mouth of a T-Rex, or was that at the Battle of Peace?
That was no. That was in Day 1 Living Land when you were on your way to the hospital, Lower Manhattan Hospital. This is completely different.
Yeah. I mean, this was the one where eventually somebody wound up on one of these rooftops
Yeah.
right over here. Yeah, I think it was Chris, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
there's some sharpshooting from up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I remember that now, but he wound up falling down into the rubble somewhere. I don't remember where.
Somewhere right over in there, I think.
Yeah.
No, I was.
Oh, were you
I'm
on the other
pretty
side of the street?
If I'm actually remembering this correctly, it was Pepper who was up here in the building. I was down here in the building.
That's
I never
right.
fell down.
That's right. Yeah, Pepper was actually. I thought Pepper was down here, kind of hiding in the trees. I can't remember exactly where everyone was, but let's see. Chris, grab your token and move it around where you believe. In fact, everyone could do that.
Yeah, how I started off was back here in these trees, and I cut into the building and ended up around there.
Okay, I think Pepper was
Yeah.
up there.
And taking shots to here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Mhm.
I am
And
pretty
I,
sure.
That's
I
right.
had the
You and
people who- I had
Peaches
the
actually
people
went.
who-
Sorry, Ginger. Go
say-
ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
gonna-
You climbed up in a tree, didn't you? Somebody
I hid
climbed up in
behind
a
it,
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we ended back here around this tree. But I can't really remember exactly how we because we had gotten all the way up to like right in all this area, and then we all had to run back.
Yeah, that's right.
And we all wound up around this tree at the end.
You mean over here?
No, well, somebody was up here.
Oh, that's
Somebody
right.
was up here.
That's
But
right.
me and Peaches and Chris, anyway, were all around this tree by the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I had originally started to take cover like behind some of these vehicles, but the tree, I ended up behind the tree with everybody else.
That's
Well,
right.
I think you were over here.
No, she was actually up towards the ambulance at one point. Her and Mo both, I thought.
Yeah, I think me and her had gotten up into this area, and Chris was back over there, and I wound up coming back.
Yeah,
coming back this way, while Peaches came that way.
Yeah,
and then I wound up having to run that way, and basically, I don't remember if Chris wound up unconscious or
no. I stayed fine. I was completely out of the fight, pretty much, except for like one of Dino's that got a little too close for comfort.
Okay, maybe that was it. Maybe you were just out of range or something, and
something like that. Yeah,
and wound up hid, and because you got cut off, but they hadn't seen you.
Right,
and somebody did try to cross one of these two trees up here.
I thought it was this. Yeah, I thought it was this one here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was one of the two trees that goes across the top of this building.
And we had people hiding either here in the rubble with this little wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, over here.
And my girlfriend cleaned house.
She saved our collective hide.
Yeah. So if I recall correctly, there was one Gotak. There were 6 warriors, 2 of which were on the little raptors. And then there were 2 or 3 scouts on top of that. And you guys just cleaned their clocks, even though you weren't really all that high in experience yet. You just really cleaned their clocks. I think that was the time that I decided that I was going to start making my own bad guys to face off against you, because you were beating the crap out of my good guy or bad guys.
Look, you got to say this right, because none of us did crap. Your NPC beat the snot out of your other NPC.
Yeah. All right. I remember that.
Okay, yeah.
And it was glorious, almost. Glory. She had the first glory of all of us, but our NPC did.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, she had a lot of anger issues to work out.
Yeah, I think it was Isabel and Doc wound up staying in here somewhere with everybody, and we told them to keep their voices down, keep quiet, because if we lost, or if you guys lost, they would get eaten.
Oh yeah, they were all hid. Yeah, they were hid up there.
Yep. Yep, that's
And
true.
Chris, weren't you up there with them to begin with, and then something? Have you failed a climb roll or something?
No,
Then you
no.
wound up coming forward.
I immediately went to hide behind this tree for range shots. We were sending all the hospitalities into this building for protection.
Okay.
Hospitalese. I
Okay.
like that. That works. So yeah, that was a really good fight. And you said it was Lena that got a glory out of that?
Oh yeah. She
It's
jumped
not
off
bad. I mean,
the car here and took out a guy.
Yeah,
Or
Lena
two.
got a glory, and Lena was just open ending 10s and 20s left and right through this entire fight.
Oh yeah.
Every time she hit somebody, they went down.
Like by 3s and 4s, not just 1s and 2s. But she was taking 3 or 4 out at a time.
Yeah, me and Peaches wound up like hiding behind that tree, going, "Wow, my girlfriend's tough."
Go, Lena. Go, Lena.
Go, Lena. Go, Lena. Yeah.
Oh man, that was a good fight.
Yeah. That was a really good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't that we weren't trying, but me and Peaches, I think we failed every single roll we made.
I don't think you were the only ones. I think Gavin and Wyatt did with their characters also.
Yeah.
I think Gavin was the one that fell off the tree.
He might have. I remember something about that, but I can't really remember.
Fell off this tree. Got hurt pretty good.
It was discouraging for him.
Oh, no doubt. Okay, I'm just going to commit suicide right here. I can't get nothing.
Who needs the enemies? All you have to do is just fall out of a tree far enough and
precisely. Precisely.
Gravity was we have discovered gravity is quite dangerous in this game.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I don't remember. Did one of the scouts or the Gotak get away?
I think so.
I thought one of them got away, yeah.
I don't think we stopped everybody.
No, I mean, yeah. Well, the way things turned out, it would have been enough. So, okay. So I'm going to drag you back to the map that we were on a few minutes ago. All right, and I've got to scale back in. Hello. So that everybody can read. Let me get in there. There we go. That'll work. So, okay, I was just looking at my notes, and it was actually supposed to be Trenton where you guys had that fight. There's Franklin Park. There was Edison, but where was Trenton? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. There's Princeton right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go on, but that was a fun fight. I really enjoyed that, even though I got my butt kicked. I think that's my job, is to get my butt kicked.
You're the GM. Your job is to facilitate a story that the rest of us work in.
Yeah, but I end up
getting your butt kicked.
Yeah, I end up cheerleading more often than not for my players to beat the bad guys. That doesn't mean that I try and give you weak bad guys. It just means that I would rather see you win against bad guys that are bad guys. All right. So let's see. We've reached our first hour in this. Let me go ahead and start the new video.
And it must have been in Lawrence where we picked up the Feral Boy Scouts.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. Okay.